Hello everyone, my name is Daily Manhwas and welcome to another video. In this video I will be recapping this manhwa called The Golden Lion King. This story begins on the Lion Mountain where some beasts and a girl were running away. They were being chased by some soldiers. Seeing that they were walking away, one of the soldiers decided to shoot the girl. The shot attracts a mutant boar beast. The boar was furious because the shot had hit its tusk. The beast begins to charge towards them. One of the soldiers, seeing that the normal weapons did not do much damage, pulls out a missile launcher and shoots at the beast, but the beast manages to dodge it at the last second. Seeing this, the soldier prepares for another attack when suddenly a roar is heard from the top of the mountain. The one who had roared was the Golden Lion King. The soldiers are amazed by his beauty and the gold, so they decide to attack to take the gold. The Lion King leaps, dodging the bullets, and quickly eliminates a soldier. The soldier with the missile launcher attacks him, but the Lion King plugs his cannon, causing the explosion to occur inside the cannon. He had eliminated all the soldiers. He was too strong and could not control his strength. His name was Liu Fan, and he was an orphan, but he managed to graduate from college and started to become a proud worker. But he had accidentally crossed from planet Earth to where the spirit was revived and was reborn as a golden lion, who was considered a magical beast. And the system of this world made him stronger and stronger for whatever he did. The boar, seeing the strength of King Lion, runs away, and the system gives him another point. The king wonders where was the girl the soldiers were chasing. The girl had fallen into the beast tide because of the explosion. The Lion King approaches the girl and sees that she had an unusual feeling as she was dead, but her body was still filled with aura. He uses his power and pulls a magic powder out of his mouth, and little by little, the girl's spirit begins to come to life. The night falls, and the Lion King goes to the Cave of the Runes, where the girl begins to cry because she had lost her body. The Lion King reassures her and tells her that she only had to be reincarnated. When suddenly he gets a warning from the system telling him that he had picked up a ghost and had to link it as soon as possible. This was the first time he had received a warning from the system telling him something so direct. He had to plan carefully to complete his new mission. When suddenly a candle demon named Ziokeo comes out, she comforts the girl and tells her that the king had no bad intentions, he was just a little insensitive to feelings. The Lion King had left his spiritual energy in her soul so that she could keep her soul. Thanks to the king's spiritual energy, she had managed to transform into a demon. To become a demon, there were two conditions. The first was the special constitution, and the second was the obsession of the heart. Ziokeo asks her why the soldiers were chasing her before. She is Su Ling from Mang village at the foot of Lion King Mountain, and since the revival of spiritual energy, the people of her village had been disappearing one after another, leaving only 20 people. And 2 days ago, a group of soldiers interrupted in their village and ordered everyone to advance into the forest. One of the villagers says he didn't want to go in because his son had disappeared in that forest. But the soldier doesn't listen to him and hits him, saying that if he didn't do it, he was going to kill him himself. The old man, seeing that he had no choice, decides to go. A little further into the forest, the old man begins to disappear. The soldiers force all the villagers into the forest. Each of them disappears after walking in the dark fog. And finally, it was Su Ling's turn. When she entered the fog, she began to move unconsciously in one direction. Then he saw his parents, but when she woke up again, her parents had disappeared. She had fallen into a well, and a flower had guided her away from the soldiers. She could not destroy the coffin that the soldiers were looking for, so she decided to eat the flower. After eating the flower, her body became very light, and her eyes could see clearly at night. Soldiers later found the coffin and removed it using a helicopter. One of the superiors, seeing that the flower was not there, told the soldiers that he was not going to pay them until they found the flower. Then the group of soldiers began to chase her, and that's how she arrived at the Lion King's mountain. The Lion King now understands why she had a special constitution. She was seeking revenge. The coffin and the flower were a rare treasure. After the first revival of spiritual energy, various forces became anxious and started to move, and the second revival was going to happen sooner or later. As the system had asked him to link her, he asked Su Ling if she wanted to become a Chang ghost under his command. Su Ling accepts, and as a reward, the system gives him a fragment of Zhang body that could be exchanged for a Yang body. Seeing this, the Lion King was happy because finally there was a chance that he could regain his human body. Since he was reborn as the Golden Lion, the system had only made him stronger no matter what he did. But since he became the Demon King of Mount Lion, this kind of thing never happened to him. This was the first time the system had sent him a task with a reward, a mysterious opportunity with a mysterious reward. If Yang's fragment could return his body, it was an opportunity he could not miss. He asked Su Ling if she was seeking revenge against those people. She did not want to cause trouble for the king. All her relatives were dead, and she does not want their corpses exposed. The king thinks she was a child, but she had quite a heavy mind. With his breath, he creates a clone to protect her since he could not leave the Lion Mountain. And with her breath, he creates a dagger with his spirit and gives it to Su Ling. She doesn't know how to thank him for all that the king has done for her, and she decides to leave, and Xiaokao decides to accompany her to light the way. As they make their way to where the fog was, the Lion King clone begins to feel a very strong ghostly aura. As they walk a little further, they come across many corpses, and among the corpses was the corpse of Grandfather Lai. All of them were killed by the fog. The king's clone uses his power and tells Su Ling that he had purified the villagers' souls and allowed them to re-enter reincarnation. But the bodies of Su Ling's parents were still missing, so they decided to keep searching. But the king's clone stops them, as he had smelled the odor of the gunpowder the soldiers were carrying. Those soldiers were at the site of the coffin and the flower. The soldiers, seeing that Su Ling did not appear, begin to destroy the corpses of her parents. Su Ling gets angry and prepares to attack them, but the king's clone stops her and tells her that there was someone else. When suddenly Lady Mei Yun appears, the soldiers tell her that they were still looking for Su Ling and the flower. Mei Yun did not care about the flower, she only cared about the sarcophagus. 49 ghosts had died in vain after 81 years in the sarcophagus and had slowly precipitated into the soul floor of 3 lives. In the cave, the Lion King gets another point because his clone had discovered the soul floor of 3 lives. It was the first time the demonic knowledge property had been activated, and he could now clearly see his veins. He turns and sees that he could also see the veins of the other creatures. Although the system only made him stronger no matter what he did, this was the first time he had awakened such a special ability. He could even see spiritual energy surging from the veins of the earth. All the energy came from a specific point. Back in the ruins of the sarcophagus, Mei Yun comes out of the hole and kills the soldiers so that no one would know about the 3 soul lands. She cuts herself and drops her blood on the stone in the sarcophagus. She was the one who came up with the idea of using the villagers to scout the road so that the soldiers would not have been killed. Hearing this, Su Ling angrily prepares to attack her, but Mei Yun senses the attack and gets Su Ling to stop attacking. The king's clone and Xiaokao were surprised as she was able to see ghosts. Su Ling had unconsciously dodged the attack, but she plucked up courage because she was now a ghost and wasn't afraid of being cut. Mei Yun, seeing that no one was there, takes out a pair of glasses and puts them on. And now she is able to see Su Ling. Su Ling angrily tells her that she wanted to avenge her parents' death. But Mei Yun doesn't remember her and doesn't remember killing her parents either. She tells her that she doesn't remember stepping on ants and killing them. Su Ling angrily prepares to attack her again. The king's clone was surprised as she was not surprised or scared after seeing Su Ling, and thinks that this was not the first time she was dealing with a ghost. She had a special way of fighting ghosts. The clone senses that something bad is going to happen. He uses his power and lures Su Ling, causing her to dodge the attack at the last second. Su Ling does not know how she was able to hurt her if she was a ghost. Mei Yun had a crimson knife, which was a special weapon used against ghosts. Su Ling had to avoid the long knife and attack it with a surprise attack from a blind spot. The Clone King does not intervene as he wanted Su Ling to take revenge with her own hands. Mei Yun attacks again, but Su Ling dodges her attack, and using her blind spot, she manages to finish Mei Yun off. The Lion King clone comes to the conclusion that her bracelet was a magic weapon that was able to sense the killer aura, and the glasses allowed her to see ghosts. The king's clone helped Su Ling by using his murderous aura to disturb her perception, when suddenly Mei Yun's body rises again. She resurrects and attacks Su Ling again. Her knife was a special weapon for attacking ghosts, and both the king and the little candle were in the state of soul doppelganger. Su Ling couldn't allow her to attack them. Su Ling manages to block the blow and counterattacks, cutting Mei Yun's arm. However, suddenly, tentacles start to emerge from the severed arm, and it reattaches itself to Mei Yun's body. She was a person who was dead, but her doppelganger could survive even if the original body had died. This was the perfect opportunity to test the new mastery of the Lion King. Mei Yun's breath came from the soul ground of 3 lives. She had previously dripped her blood on the soul ground. Mei Yun attacks Su Ling again, but now her attack range had increased. As a disadvantage, her recovery speed was slower. Seizing the opportunity, Su Ling approaches her and attacks several times, managing to cut Mei Yun's body in half. From the split body, more tentacles emerge and trap Su Ling. The clone of the king does not want to intervene as it is a doppelganger, and if it gets damaged in combat, it will be terrible for his body. The tentacles start attacking Su Ling slowly, but the Lion King decides to intervene using the fragment of the young body. He tells them to cover their ears and hold their breath. With a powerful roar, he attacks the doppelganger of Mei Yun and manages to kill her by vanishing her body. He approaches and picks up Mei Yun's knife, and his level rises several times. Obtaining the knife expands his sword attributes. He touches his neck and feels that he has hair. The system was cheating as there was a level to restore the human body. What he wanted the most was to change his ghostly appearance. Xiaokao falls in love with the new body of the Lion King. He levels up his demonic consciousness by inhaling the soul ground of 3 lives. Now, he could see the aura floating in the air, and he becomes stronger every time he breathes. Su Ling thanks him for saving her, but this revenge was not over yet. They still had to discover what the coffin of the 3 lives soul was hiding. So, he decides to continue investigating to help Su Ling seek revenge. The sun starts to rise, and Xiaokao hides in his clothes, and Su Ling does the same. But the Lion King tells her she can't do that anymore because she is too big, and being a ghost she can possess a body. He suggests possessing Mei Yun's body instead. At first, she doesn't want to, as Mei Yun's body is too ugly for her. However, realizing it's a matter of life or death, she decides to possess Mei Yun's body. The Lion King tells her that from now on, if they encounter a mercenary, she must pretend to be Mei Yun. After walking for a while, they arrive at an open area where a helicopter was waiting for them. When they reach the helicopter, the soldiers ask who the hooded guy is. Su Ling orders them not to ask any more questions about him. As they board the helicopter, the system awards another point to him. After flying for a while, the pilot tells Su Ling that they have arrived in Xiling City. At the entrance, there are the bodies of giant beasts, and among the corpses are people searching for resources or the beast's core. Unlike the Lion Rock, which was flourishing, the resurgence of aura caused a great commotion in the human city. The city was in an apocalyptic state. After a few minutes, they reach the city, where Su Ling thanks the pilot for his work and swiftly takes down the soldiers with a quick blow. It was a fairly powerful group, and the soldiers' camp was quite large, but the Lion King could reduce it to ashes with a single breath if he wanted to. However, for now, he just wants to play with them a bit. They enter the tower and defeat the guards, reaching the place where the clues they were looking for were hidden. The Lion King activates his divine consciousness and realizes they are not the only ones who broke in. A woman with a gun is hiding behind the door. The king senses the danger and decides to go first. As he opens the door, the girl shoots him with her pistol. The bullet hits the Lion King directly in the chest. Su Ling, furious, prepares to attack the girl, but the Lion King stops her, telling her that he is fine. It was a bullet covered in aura, and the girl is surprised to see that it didn't harm him. She wonders if he is unawakened. The girl shoots several more times. All the bullets hit the Lion King without damaging him. He quickly breaks her pistol with a finger. He then captures her and warns her not to force him to take action since he doesn't trust his power control. The girl responds that he can kill her if he wants. The king realizes that she is not a member of the Kang Sheng group, so he asks her what she is doing here. She reveals that the Kang Sheng group illegally stole her company's development project, and she came here to find evidence. The king notices she is hiding a paper in her shirt, and upon taking it out, he sees that it is a map. The first target of the group is the Lion Rock. Suddenly, the leaders of the headquarters arrive. They had come to receive the delivery at night and were using candles for illumination. The sarcophagus was sensitive to intense light, and candles were the limit. The clone of the king and the girls decide to continue observing to find out where they would move the sarcophagus. Luo Yi, a Class B awakened, tells Mei Fox that he was going to ask someone to take away the sarcophagus. But Mei Fox tasks Wu Gang, a strong man, to carry the sarcophagus. The clone of the king is surprised to see Wu Gang lifting the sarcophagus. Mei Fox realizes that someone is watching them. She attacks the clone of the king, but just before her attack lands, he manages to stop it. She was unawakened too, as she could sense his presence. Luo Yi heads towards the clone of the king to attack him, starting with a kick, but the Lion King quickly dodges. After seeing that he had evaded the strike, Luo Yi launches a flurry of blows. By dodging the attacks, the clone of the Lion King was increasing his resistance. Luo Yi was curious to know who was hiding beneath the cloak. With a quick move, he removes the cloak from the clone of the king. Upon seeing the true face of the king, he understands why he had such good resistance and quick reflexes. Mei Fox is captivated by his appearance. Luo Yi activates his ability, Divine Speed, and with an instant strike, manages to hit the king. However, upon striking, his leg bones break due to the king's hard body. By defeating an awakened, he levels up several times. Mei Fox is astonished as he had defeated Luo Yi, a Class B awakened, so effortlessly. Upon seeing Luo Yi being defeated, Wu Gang prepares to attack the Lion King. Using his incredible strength, he throws the sarcophagus towards the Lion King. But in an instant, the Lion King catches the sarcophagus and keeps it safe. He becomes angry with Wu Gang for throwing such a precious treasure. Wu Gang activates his ability, Liberation, and his muscular body becomes even more muscular. He prepares to attack with a powerful blow, but Su Ling attacks him with her dagger. The blade gets stuck in his chest, as his muscles were so strong that no one could harm him. With a shove, he defeats Su Ling. The Lion King approaches him and tells him that he had a lot of confidence in his muscles but had forgotten to exercise his brain. And with a single finger, the Lion King defeats Wu Gang. Mei Fox is disappointed with his companions, but she was different from them. She was a little girl who had lost her home and wandered the streets. However, gradually, she rose to the position of CEO and secretary of the group thanks to her brilliant mind. She takes off her cloak and reveals her seductive attire. She activates her ability and starts to seduce the Lion King. Her ability is effective with men and beasts, it affects all males. When under her control, men become obedient slaves. The Lion King is confused by her gestures. Her ability doesn't seem to work on him, so she decides to use her ability to spy on him and find out what the Lion King is hiding. The Lion King hadn't lost his yang essence, his body was pure yang, which is why the enchantments didn't affect him. May Fox uses all her strength and employs her ultimate charm, trying to seduce him. The king loses consciousness and starts releasing his power. Su Ling, upon seeing that the Lion King was losing control, tries to help him. However, the Lion King quickly pushes her aside with a furious look and starts advancing towards May Fox. The Lion King's lust was the purest, she couldn't control him. She attempts to regain her composure, but the level of power overwhelms her, her end was near. The Lion King's lust is being consumed by May Fox's lust. All things have a fire in their hearts, and the fire in the heart is composed of lust and karma. These two types of heart fires are extremely dangerous, so it's necessary to suppress and reconcile the practitioner's innate aura. May Fox disturbed the Lion King's mental peace, awakening his lust. Now the Lion King is acting solely on instinct. If they don't do something, his lust will consume him until death. The Lion King is about to kill May Fox. Zio-Ko is the result of the Lion King's absorption of demonic energy. He has a body of pure yang energy. His primal yang energy has not been released, and no one can withstand his lust. Zio-Ko is the incarnation of the divine flame, capable of merging with the ghostly fire, the fire of the 6 guardian gods, the fire of triple immersion, and the fire of true contemplation. Any flame in this world can be compatible with Zio-Ko. She approaches the Lion King and uses her ability called Return of the Fire Sect. She begins to absorb the Lion King's lust, and after a while, she absorbs all of his lust. May Fox is surprised she survived and believes the Lion King was too dangerous, as she barely escaped being burnt. Su Ling takes out her dagger and ensures that May Fox won't escape. The Lion King wakes up exhausted and weak, having gained a lot of stat points. By expanding his elemental fire, he gains a new ability, the Golden Fire Heart Technique. Zio-Ko's color has changed due to devouring the Lion King's lust. He approaches May Fox and asks her about the use of the 3 lives soul coffin. May Fox responds that the coffin contains ancient secrets. When one lies in it, they can receive an inheritance in an illusory world and obtain reincarnation. However, if the user gets lost in the illusion realm, their soul will disappear and their body will turn to dust. The Lion King wonders if it could help him obtain a young body, but the coffin carries great risks. Su Ling leaves May Fox's body and tells the Lion King that she wants to try. The Lion King refuses, deeming it too dangerous, but suddenly receives a message saying that the success probability for the soul coffin trial is 30%. Su Ling insists because her original life was the Lion King's. Upon seeing her determination, the Lion King decides to let her use the coffin. He uses his ability, Sacred Fire Heart Flame, and starts manifesting his soul's fire. However, he wants to pull her back when his inner fire begins to show signs of disappearance. Su Ling lies down in the coffin and is teleported back to her village before the soldiers arrived. Her parents are alive and call her to come and eat. She can't help but shed tears at seeing her parents alive again, but she knows she can't be deceived, it's just an illusion. She goes inside with her parents to take a look and starts eating with them, happy once more. For the moment, Su Ling's vital fire is stable, but she must overcome the obstacle. Inside the coffin, several years have passed, and it's the day of Su Ling's wedding. The sun is about to rise, and if Su Ling doesn't awaken her spirit, it will be lost forever. Su Ling is struggling, even though the fire of life continues to burn. Resisting against the sarcophagus is too difficult. The Lion King decides to bring Su Ling back as there's very little time left before the sunrise. Su Ling starts to see the figure of the Lion King and begins to awake. As she was getting up, the sun was rising. In the end, she manages to get out before the sun fully rises. The Lion King welcomes her, and Su Ling, with tears, thanks him. He has completed the connection mission and become a loyal companion of the lion, improving his awakening ability. He has obtained the illusion of the 3 lives and the inheritance of the reunion spell. The Lion King didn't expect to receive such rewards. May Fox is moved to see them reunited and decides to leave first since she has nothing else to do. Zio-Ko grabs her by the ear and asks the Lion King about his plans for her. She had provoked his lust, allowing him to acquire the Sacred Fire Technique, and she could help him improve his skills. He takes May Fox by the arm and brings her along until his Sacred Fire Technique is fully perfected. Everyone leaves the building, and the Lion King sets it on fire as their target was the Lion Mountain. Suddenly, the system warns him that the second resurgence of spiritual energy is about to begin. On the Lion Mountain, some plants and animals start to receive the second resurgence of spiritual aura. Finally, the time has come, and the system assigned him the task to expand the territory. He must expand the size of the mountain to support the growing flow of spiritual energy. He is impressed because the system cannot cheat intentionally, and there are no restrictions. Suddenly, the system warns him that if he doesn't expand his territory within the established time frame, his body will collapse due to the inability to withstand the excess spiritual energy, resulting in his death. The Lion King had never confirmed the extent of the Lion Mountain, so he decides to activate his spirit perception to confirm it, as this is the perfect moment to test his new abilities. He uses his ability called Spirit Perception and is amazed to see that he can glimpse the flow of spiritual energy throughout the entire mountain, thanks to reaching level 3 of Spirit Perception. He notices that his golden fruit tree has fallen, and he is confused as the armadillo was supposed to guard it. But upon searching further, he realizes that the armadillo is unconscious on the ground. Seeing this, he gets angry because the culprit not only caused harm to his territory but also dared to hurt his companions. The culprit left a trace of spiritual energy, and if he follows the trace, he can find them. The Lion King is angry because the culprit had knocked down his golden fruit tree, which was the root of the Lion Mountain. The golden fruit tree blooms every 10 years, and by eating a golden fruit, one obtains 30 years of demonic power. The Lion King summons all his subordinates, including the chatty bird captain, the green snake Xia King, the white fox Ziyu, and the giant bear Xingji. When they reach the armadillo, they realize he is severely injured but still alive. Upon seeing the Lion King, the centipede starts to roar. The Lion King gets angry and prepares to use his lion's roar if he don't. But Xia King stops him and tells him that there's no need for him to get personally involved in such trivial matters. She attacks the centipede, entwining it with her body. The armadillo apologizes to the king for not taking good care of the golden fruit tree. The centipede was originally a worm that burrowed beneath the golden fruit tree. However, this time, with the revitalization of the spiritual aura, it started to mutate suddenly. Still, its wisdom didn't awaken, turning it into a fierce and uncontrollable being. Xia King bites down hard, splitting the centipede in half. But the centipede uses its ability called Earth Dragon Division and divides itself, continuing to attack Xia King. The more she hits it, the more centipedes appear. Seeing that Xia King is in trouble, her companions decide to help her. However, Xia King refuses their help, as she had been cultivating diligently alongside the Lion King day and night. Today was the moment to test the results. Using her demonic energy, she transforms into a dragon. She breathes out dragon breath, delivering a powerful energy blast that manages to hit the centipede. Her companions are amazed at her power. They start discussing how she used to sleep in the Lion King's cave to take advantage of the demonic aura to cultivate her power. While they argue, the system levels up the Lion King. Meanwhile, the wounded centipede starts to retreat from the battle, fleeing underground. Xia King begins to pursue it. The flow of energy from the mountain was below the ground. The source of the Lion King's power was connected to the Lion Mountain. If this flow was destroyed, the consequences would be devastating. The Lion King orders all his subordinates to go underground to chase after the centipede. Xia King tells him that the centipede escaped because it was a creature that lived underground and could sense the direction through its skin, while her olfactory sensors were being interfered with by the spiritual energy from the ground. The Lion King decides to use his demonic consciousness ability. He could feel that this underground spiritual current was connected to his spine. He orders everyone to dig until they reach the bottom of the earth to find the centipede. After walking for a while, they reach an area where the sensation was similar to that in the lion's cave. As they progress further, they come across the body of the centipede, which had been killed. And behind the centipede's body stands a woman holding a red umbrella. Her name is Kai Luo, and she was waiting for their arrival. All of Xingji's subordinates had been killed by Kai Luo. Kai Luo apologizes, saying she didn't want to waste food but couldn't eat anymore. Xingji becomes angry upon hearing this and activates his wild power, preparing to attack Kai Luo with 10,000 jin. Kai Luo stops his attack with her power, telling him he was overestimating his strength. The clever fox Ziyu and the chatty bird decide to help Xing. The talkative bird uses its ability, the Great World, and shoots its energy-covered feathers while Ziyu uses his shadow-hidden ability, both attacking Kai Luo. However, she stops their attacks with her umbrella using the Miss Claw ability. She quickly attacks Xingji, thinking they were just a group of mindless beasts. But she underestimated the Lion King, mistaking him for a sick cat, believing he was just a small, insignificant kitten. The Lion King uses his Roar of the Lion ability and attacks Kai Luo, but she blocks the attack with her umbrella and the indestructible golden ability. However, the Lion King's roar was too powerful and Kai Luo's umbrella couldn't withstand its force. Her umbrella was destroyed, but her benevolent energy remained. Kai Luo realizes that the Lion King is too powerful and cannot defeat him head-on, so she decides to attack his subordinates. She uses the Devouring Earth ability like a tiger, and her umbrella generates energy hurricanes, hitting the Lion King's subordinates. Slowly, she starts absorbing them, and when the umbrella is directed at the Lion King, Xia King steps in front and takes the impact. Seeing Xia King injured, Xingji tries to stop the umbrella with his Thousand Jin Fall ability. At this moment, the Lion King's past is shown when he was just a cub. It was the first time they had managed to drive away the clan of hyenas. Xingji asks him why he always threw himself into every fight. The little Lion King replies that he was destined to protect his subordinates. Upon hearing this, Xingji only thought about advancing alongside him. Back in the present, the Lion King is furious because Kai Luo had taken away his family. He starts unleashing all his power, causing space to distort and immobilizing Kai Luo. The Lion King attacks the umbrella with a strong bite. The bones of the umbrella were made from an ancient divine tree, and no one could destroy it. Seeing that her umbrella is about to be destroyed, Kai Luo tells the Lion King that if he damages the umbrella, he will never see his companions again. Upon hearing this, he stops attacking. She could control all creatures of the heavens and earth with her Hongjin Kaienkan umbrella. The furious Lion King demands her to release his companions. She replies that if he wanted to see them again, he needed to lick her feet. The Lion King was strong in battle, but to survive in this environment, he had to be intelligent and master the skill of metamorphosis, as he couldn't transform into a human form. Now it was impossible for him to open the umbrella to release his friends. She moved her foot closer to him so that he could lick it. At that moment, the king began to remember his friends. She advised him to hurry because if he took too long, his friends would turn into blood. What she didn't know was that the king had an ace up his sleeve. Suddenly, the Lion King's clone appeared from behind and removed the umbrella. At that moment, she realized she had fallen into his trap. Su Ling and Xiao Kao returned back with the clone, and they had captured Mei Fox and the girl who had infiltrated the headquarters. The clone realized that by opening the red umbrella, he could free his subordinates. She tried to stop him. He opened the umbrella, and she began to feel pain. It was difficult for the clone to open the umbrella because it was tightly closed, but he gradually succeeded in opening it. The more he opened the umbrella, the more pain Kai Luo felt. After exerting effort for a while, the clone finally managed to open the umbrella, and the king's trapped subordinates were released. Then the system notified him that the time for using the Yang fragment had ended, and the clone disappeared. Xiao Kao approached everyone to check if they were injured. She gave the good news to the king by confirming that they were only unconscious. Kai Luo didn't expect the Lion King to be so powerful. She had never encountered such a powerful demon beast before. In the hundreds of years since she had become a demon beast, this was the first time someone had opened her umbrella so easily. She understood the gravity of the situation and quickly retreated since she couldn't currently confront the lion. She intended to return after devouring more demon beasts and increasing her power. The king knew that if he let her escape, more problems would arise. He ordered Su Ling to accompany him while Xiao Kao stayed to take care of his subordinates. Both of them went to pursue Kai Luo. After a few minutes, she reached the cave's exit and began to fly. The king activated his power and tried to fly after her, but at that moment, he realized he couldn't fly and fell to the ground. Kai Luo started mocking him for being unable to fly. Enraged, the king used his ability called Golden Flame Bite and launched a powerful lion-shaped flame towards her. She narrowly dodged it at the last second and realized that the Lion King still had many tricks up his sleeve. Her best option now was to get away from him for a while. Quickly, she bid farewell to the king and left. She had a loose tongue because she could hide her malignant energy, and even with the king's ability to detect demons, he couldn't locate her. Su Ling couldn't do much either. She couldn't fly even after converting her body into Yang. If she had known this, she wouldn't have chosen her current Yang body, and she wouldn't have entered the stone sarcophagus. Suddenly, she began to hear a voice, a familiar voice. It was the same voice she had heard in the sarcophagus. She had obtained her Yang body after accepting the sarcophagus's inheritance, but at that time, she had heard many words and couldn't remember their order. After a while, those words came back to her. Those words were the living words technique. She had obtained her Yang body thanks to the formula of the living words inside the sarcophagus. The living words technique was not irreversible, so she used the technique again and transformed into a Yin spirit. She told the Lion King that she had remembered the technique inside the sarcophagus and could now freely alternate between the Yang body and the Yin spirit. She asked him to let her pursue Kai Luo. The Lion King told her that the sarcophagus's inheritance was not easy, it required constant stimulation and remembering the techniques to fully receive the inheritance. Seeing that she could use the living words technique, the Lion King gave her a drop of blood to protect herself from the red umbrella. Seeing that the king trusted her, she wanted to do everything in her power to meet his expectations. In the blink of an eye, she caught up to Kai Luo and attacked her with the dagger that the king had given her. However, at that moment, Kai Luo sensed her energy and blocked the attack using her umbrella. Despite the umbrella being very resilient, Su Ling's dagger had managed to damage it. It was a strange day for Kai Luo. She had faced a golden lion with immense cultivation level, and now a simple devil had been able to damage the fabric of her umbrella. Su Ling clarified that the dagger in her hands had been made from the fang of the Lion King, so there was no possibility that a simple umbrella spirit could withstand it. Angry, Kai Luo used her ability called the universe within the umbrella and absorbed Su Ling. She crashed onto the ground in the infinite space inside the umbrella of the ancient city. Looking around, she realized she had been sucked into a dimensional space, and inside the space, it was raining. The mist and rain had corrosive properties that were dissipating her spiritual energy. She quickly realized that it was not very convenient to stay in this dimensional space for long, so she tried to escape. After moving a few meters, she came across the bodies of other spiritual beasts that were being dissipated by something strange. She had to leave that space immediately. After advancing for a few minutes, she returned to the same place where the beast was being dissipated. Her suspicions were correct. Escaping from that place was not going to be easy. The most dangerous places were often the safest. Seeing that advancing through the ancient city was getting her nowhere, she tried to escape through the sky. She quickly reached the sky, but as she approached it, she encountered the same wall of beasts. And then, she fell to the ground. Now, gravity had changed, the sky had become the ground, and the ground had become the sky. She realized that everything was under Kai Luo's control. Desperate, she tried to provoke Kai Luo into coming out to fight her, but no matter how much she insisted, she didn't appear, and gradually, the rain was dissipating her energy. The Lion Mountain companions had been freed when the Lion King opened the umbrella. If no one came to rescue her, she had no way out of this dimensional space. Tears in her eyes, she took out the drop of blood that the king had given her and apologized for letting him down. At that moment, both the dagger and the drop of blood began to rise into the sky and merged into a new dagger. This dagger grew larger and transformed into a sword. She had always tried to help the king, but in the end, it was always he who saved her. A moment ago, she had even considered giving up. Disappointed in herself, she attacked the wall using the power of the sword. Upon impact, the wall started to take damage. At that moment, she understood that the various manifestations of the previous umbrella were not its true form. The true form was the umbrella itself. This time, she was even willing to spend all her cultivation power. She quickly remembered the inheritance that could help them survive and escape this situation. She had a duty to completely eliminate those who threatened the Lion King. Using the assassination technique, she activated the state of bloody killing. Using the blood sword, she struck the wall once more with a powerful blow. Outside, Kai Luo was already taking damage. She was surprised because Su Ling was still fighting despite the corrosive rain and mist. Inside the dimensional space, the mist and rain gradually began to disappear. She felt relief and used the icebreaker technique and attacked again with several strikes. Due to the damage, Kai Luo stopped fleeing. If she didn't get too far away, the lion could track her demonic energy again. So, she used the blood coagulation in the universe of the umbrella technique and began to summon hidden soldiers made of yin blood. These were humans and demonic beasts she had devoured. Once beings were devoured within the umbrella, she could control them with this technique. The hidden soldiers began to advance toward Su Ling, and the battle began. In the Lion Mountain, the system notified the Lion King that his bonded spirit had entered an overloaded state. Using the demonic consciousness of universal communication, he tried to contact Su Ling. After trying several times, she still didn't respond. She had remembered a new inheritance, and this inheritance was deeply inscrutable. However, her current level of cultivation was very low, and if she couldn't control and guide herself properly, there could be a serious problem. Inside the umbrella, Su Ling had dealt with all the hidden soldiers made of yin blood. Despite killing many, she felt it wasn't enough. She still wanted to keep killing. Kai Luo couldn't keep using the rest of her demonic energy as it was slowly depleting, so her best option now was to give up on absorbing Su Ling. With her remaining demonic power, she began to dismantle the universe within the umbrella. Near the Lion Mountain, a group of awakened beings was heading toward the mountain. They had come to stop the Kaiyingsheng group, which had made a corrupt alliance with officials and businessmen to take away their development project. The leader of the construction company's exploration team was a man named Bingpo. An awakened being of Class C, he knew that the second recovery of spiritual energy had begun, so they were planning to seize the opportunity to compete for resources. The government had already awarded the mountain project to the Kaiyingsheng group, so if they were discovered, they would be in serious trouble. Since the recovery of spiritual Kai, demonic beasts had become prominent, and there were many awakened beings. The government had long ceased to exist, so any development group could use its military power to dominate. As they approached the mountain, they saw Su Ling, who had escaped from Kai Luo's umbrella. Seeing her, Bingpo thought she was from the Kaiyingsheng group and ordered his group to deal with her. Using the ice crystallization ability, He attacked Su Ling, but just before his strike landed, she cut his hand with her sword. Seeing this, the entire group advanced towards her for revenge, but in the blink of an eye, Su Ling had ended the lives of all of them. With her hands covered in blood from killing all the awakened beings, she began to feel that the blood smelled very good. The Lion King arrived and warned her that if she tasted human blood, there would be no turning back. But she didn't listen at all and was willing to taste the blood. Just before she could try it, the Lion King used the roar of the lion to knock her out. Using his tail, he picked up her body. He didn't want her to face unnecessary dangers. However, during the second recovery of spiritual energy, there would be changes, especially for his bonded spirit. To survive, she could only become stronger to have means of self-protection. With more people coveting the Lion Mountain, this was the signal for the Lion King to start taking action. He picked up Su Ling's body and headed towards the Lion Mountain. On the way, she woke up and apologized for letting the umbrella spirit escape. The king comforted her by saying that the umbrella spirit issue had already been resolved. She was relieved to hear this, as she had been of use to the king after all. Having a system allowed the Lion King to do as he pleased, although he had let the original spirit of the umbrella girl escape. At the moment he was chasing the girl, the system warned him that it had detected a strange object between his teeth. When he removed this object from his teeth, he realized it was a piece of the red umbrella's fabric. He wondered if he could use this piece of fabric to track the spirit. The umbrella spirit was an expert at hiding her demonic energy in physical form, so she couldn't be detected with spiritual perception either. At that moment, an idea occurred to the king. Using the sacred fire heart technique called living fire of manifestation destruction, he destroyed the fabric. But to his surprise, the umbrella spirit could infinitely repair herself. The embroidered silk fragment from Kainkun had powerful vitality. Even if it was separated from the original form, it could still maintain a connection with her. Kai Luo didn't know that the king possessed the living fire ability. Now, he had full control over her, so leaving her alive meant she could still be used for his other purposes. In the Lion King's cave, the king's subordinates were happy that the king had brought them women as appetizers. Both women were scared, and Shuang thought they would torture her to extract information. The Lion King returned to the cave and told her that the exploration team from the Giant Construction Corporation had suffered total annihilation at the foot of the Lion Mountain, and the killer was the Umbrella Demon currently in the ruins. Shuang couldn't believe it and couldn't help but shed tears. The king told her that when he arrived at the scene, everyone was already dead, and the Umbrella Demon had also escaped. Not everyone had been annihilated, there was still one survivor, and that survivor was Su Ling. Using telepathy, she asked him when she had become her friend. The king explained that all the factions were focusing on the Lion Mountain, so he needed a pair of eyes in the human world. Now that she had regained her young body, there was no one more suitable for this task. She had to gather information about the ruins, the genetic body, and the Giant Construction Group. If necessary, she could confront them at the right time. Shuang rushed to hug her. She remembered Su Ling as her friend due to the continuous hypnosis of the endless talking parrot. She was willing to fulfill her new mission, so she decided to descend from the mountain. Upon hearing this, May Fox was confused because both of them could descend the mountain. She was also confused about what to do. The Lion King ordered his subordinates to tie her up because she was going to help him practice the sacred art of fire. Tonight, they were going to practice dual cultivation. She was like a portable charger for the king. Just before Su Ling and Shuang descended the mountain, the king stopped them and told them they could share the golden fruits. The golden fruit tree had already fallen, so it was a waste not to eat the golden fruits. Therefore, all the mountain's companions were entitled to a share. Not only the golden fruits but also all the spiritual flowers and herbs grown on the Lion Mountain were going to be distributed. He ordered everyone to maximize their cultivation during the second reactivation of the spiritual aura and expand the territory of the Lion Mountain. A few days later, under the leadership of Liu Fan, the entire Lion Mountain mobilized and carried out a powerful and energetic campaign to expand their territories. The Lion Legion was invincible in battle and quickly wiped out numerous beasts and monster tribes in the surrounding area. Not only did the territory grow larger, but the number of subordinates who were subjugated also increased, doubling Liu Fan's power. The Lion Mountain had expanded by about 47.5 kilometers, and the system rewarded the king with a bunch of points. It also granted him 2 new awakened abilities, the Broken Rock Palm and the Earthquake Shake. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before all his meridians were completely cleared. On the other hand, with Shuang's help, Su Ling had infiltrated the Kaingshen group under the identity of a spy from the Jiangdong Corporation. To the south of the Lion Mountain, 60 kilometers across the river, lay the White Tiger Mountain. The turtle told its king that to the south, the Lion Mountain had been very restless lately, constantly expanding its territory and gradually encroaching on the borders of the White Tiger Mountain. The crane offered to strike and devour them instantly if given the order. Everyone wanted to take advantage of the second reactivation of the spiritual aura. The white tiger told them that receiving gifts without giving anything in return was a lack of courtesy, so now it was their turn to give them a little gift. The system rewarded the king with 2 body fragments and raised the level of the accumulation strengthening skill, the energy manipulation skill, and the earthquake shock skill by 1 level each. If he could level up further, he might be able to fully unlock all the energy accumulation and endurance skills of the mountains, as well as obtain more body fragments. Suddenly, the system alerted him that the Bayou territory had been lost. This was strange because they had just expanded their territory, and now it was lost. The king quickly asked the bear if everything was alright. The bear assured him that everything was under control, and there were no signs of enemies in the area. This was very strange, and he suspected that the system was malfunctioning and trying to deceive him. To clear his doubts, he went to check what was happening. Upon reaching Dongyu, he found all his subordinates there. The system warned him again that the Ziyu territory was being invaded by an enemy. The king quickly realized that the enemy was moving at great speed. Although he couldn't fly, he didn't think there was any demon beast in the Lion Mountain faster than him. The enemy was someone who was nearby but hidden and used a distraction to draw attention and attack another territory. However, it was very suspicious because the king didn't feel any demonic presence. He realized that if the enemy wasn't in the sky or on the ground, they could only be underground. Using his power, he scanned the area and sensed a lot of rats. With a powerful strike, he broke the earth into pieces, causing the rats to emerge from the ground. These rats were the culprits behind everything. The Lion Mountain soil was teeming with rats, which was very unusual because originally there weren't so many rats in the Lion Mountain. The rats became furious and started to attack. The bear and the chatty parrot eliminated a few, and the snake devoured hundreds of them. But no matter how many rats she devoured, it seemed they had no end. Realizing that they stood no chance alone, suddenly all the rats started to gather together, forming a giant rat. The rat began to damage the forest and the trees. Seeing this, the bear got angry and tried to attack, but the power difference was too great, and the giant rat sent him flying with a single blow. Furious, the king used his breath and fired a powerful burst. This blast easily pierced through the giant rat's body. In the distance, the white tiger had already realized that the king possessed immense destructive power. Due to the blast, the giant rat's body began to disintegrate, and all the rats that formed its body started burrowing underground. Although these rats had little demonic strength individually, their numbers were vast. If these rats touched the spiritual currents of the mountain, the king would be in trouble. The rats were starting to spread throughout the underground of the mountain. The white tiger had heard rumors that said the Lion King was so powerful that he could even lift the entire Lion Mountain. The king used his power again and broke the earth once more, but his attacks were no longer effective because the rats had already dug deep. The king's subordinates, along with Zio King, formed a team to go after the rats. The king tried to warn Zio King that it was futile due to the sheer number of rats. Pursuing them now was like searching for a needle in a haystack. She didn't listen and ventured in without a second thought because her family of green snakes had special knowledge about mountain mice. Despite the fact that mice were social animals, they didn't consciously unite to achieve a goal. When they were hunted, they simply fled by nature, only being individuals obsessed with reproduction. The only way these rats could work together in such a coordinated manner was if this colony was led by the Rat King. The bear was confused since the Rat King had been eliminated by the lion a while ago. She clarified that he wasn't the king but merely had an ability that allowed them to merge their bodies. They needed to eliminate the Rat King to stop the onslaught. Among all the rats, there was one with enormous size, and upon seeing its size, she thought he was the king. Using her venomous ability, she bit the rat, and after a while, the venom took effect and the rat died. They realized he wasn't the Rat King. The Rat King was very cunning and was hiding his presence to control the onslaught. After a few minutes, some rats had reached the spiritual roots of the mountain and began feeding on them. Gradually, they started absorbing spiritual power and mutating. The system alerted the king that his roots were being damaged, and his power was decreasing. He quickly ordered the bear to bring May Fox. The bear took her out of the cave, and she was annoyed because, despite bothering her every night, she now had to endure them during the day as well. The bear told her that the Lion Mountain had been invaded by the mice, and the Lion King wanted her to find the Rat King using her powers. She refused, as it was impossible. Upon hearing this, the king asked her to help him awaken his powers again, assuring her that this time it wouldn't be life-threatening, as he was now in his beast form. With no other option, she agreed, and using her powers, she posed sensually, and the king began to awaken his power, gradually gaining control over it. After awakening his power, his body connected to the Lion Mountain, and the spiritual roots became like his veins. Using the ability of the sacred fire heart, he transferred his energy to the spiritual veins, causing all the rats near the veins to ignite. The white tiger felt the veins and knew that the rats were being damaged, but he had other plans in mind. The true fears of the mountain rats were just beginning. Despite taking damage, the rats still followed their king and started doing the reproduction act and started biting the roots again. Thanks to the king's power, they began reproducing at a rapid pace. The king tried to communicate with his subordinates, but they were underground, making it impossible for his communication power to reach so far. They needed to eliminate all the rats. If even one rat remained alive, it could reproduce infinitely. His only option to win now was to unlock his special technique. Therefore, using his skill points, he unlocked the ability called Demon's Power. This ability allowed him to attack enemies within a 1-kilometer radius regardless of the environment. He quickly used this ability, which caused all living beings within a 1-kilometer radius to lose consciousness. It not only affected the rats but also his own allies. Xiao King emerged from the ground, and this power had no effect on her since she used to sleep near the king. Some days, the Lion King emitted the same power, so now she was immune to it. She prepared to go in search of the Rat King again, but just before that, the lion stopped her. Despite having an ability that allowed him to perceive demonic power, he was unable to distinguish her power. The mice had already invaded the entire mountain, and his power only allowed him to temporarily incapacitate them. So, combining his two special abilities and his human brain, he realized that the root of this problem was in the White Tiger Mountain. Both of them headed towards the White Tiger to declare war. As they got closer, the White Tiger sensed their power and alerted all his subordinates to prepare for battle. After walking for a few kilometers, the Lion King finally encountered the White Tiger. Just by looking at the king, the White Tiger realized that he was an extraordinarily strong rival. Seeing the tiger with his subordinates, the lion realized that he had already prepared for this battle. Both of them released their auras, colliding and creating a massive explosion. This aura was so powerful that it wiped out several of their subordinates, leaving only the tiger, the tortoise, and the crane. The battle between the two sides began. The tiger leaped and attempted to attack the lion. Just before his strike landed, the lion counterattacked, sending him flying several meters backward. The tiger was surprised to see a lion capable of such a move. Initially, lions were submissive beings who were easily defeated. What he didn't know was that the Lion King was so powerful thanks to his system and that he had been a human in the past. The tiger re-engaged in combat and delivered a powerful blow. The tiger possessed the same strength as the Lion King. After receiving this attack, the lion struck back with incredible speed and a fierce battle began. This was the first time the king faced such a formidable opponent. Each time the tiger struck the lion, it felt like hitting steel. While both fought, Xiao King could only watch from a distance since this was a battle she couldn't interfere in. But she gathered her courage and wanted to help the king. Using her power, she transformed into the ice dragon and fired a powerful blast toward the tiger. To her surprise, just before the blast could hit the tiger, the green turtle appeared and stopped the attack. Then the crane appeared, flying, and attacked her with a strong ability called the Red Storm, causing her considerable damage. The king realized that she was in danger. While he was distracted, the white tiger appeared from behind and delivered a powerful blow. At the beginning of this battle, the king was only using 50% of his power, yet the tiger was able to match his strength. He opened the system window and realized that his power was sealed. The tiger asked him if he had been afraid earlier, as opponents who started to fear him were never able to defeat him. This was thanks to his special ability. This was the ability he had awakened after many years. If at any point his opponents began to feel fear, they were never able to defeat him. All of the lion's attributes were blocked due to the tiger's debuff. Seeing this, the lion tried to keep his distance to recover his power. But what he didn't know was that the white tiger could fly thanks to his ability to generate wings, and in the blink of an eye, he reached the lion and began to strike him fiercely. Despite his attributes being blocked, the system was constantly granting him points for blocking the white tiger's attacks. Xiao King, seeing the king in danger, tried to help him, but the turtle expelled some kind of slime that spread across the ground and slowly began to trap her. Seeing her body being ensnared, she started to fly and managed to escape from his ability. Her demonic ability was far superior to that of the turtle. Quickly, the crane appeared again and used an energy cannon to pierce Xiao King's tail. This blow was so powerful that it could penetrate diamonds. Currently, he was the second strongest on the Tiger Mountain. On the other hand, the turtle was the strongest shield. Its shell could block any attack. Faced with these two, she had no chance of winning. Seeing the situation, she used her best move. Using her breath, she created a hallucinogenic cloud against the crane. While the turtle was distracted by the cloud, she appeared and wrapped herself around the turtle's body and began to bite its shell. The turtle laughed at her and said that its shell was indestructible. In the blink of an eye, she flipped the turtle's body over and tied it up with her own snake tail. Then she released more hallucinogenic clouds. While flying in the sky, the crane realized that the turtle was in danger as the snake had wrapped its body. It quickly descended to help. What the crane didn't see was that the one bound was its own partner with its own tail. Using its sharp beak and the speed of descent, it pierced the turtle's throat and ended its life. The illusion's effect ended, and the crane realized that it had ended the life of one of its allies. Taking advantage of the situation, Xiao King used the energy blast and ended the life of the crane, which was trapped in the turtle's slime. After finishing both of them off, she tried to help the king. Just before she could act, she collapsed due to exhaustion from the transformation. The lion was enveloped in an energy dome while the tiger tried to break it. Despite having his attributes blocked, he was able to use all his abilities. The white tiger was furious because the lion was very special. All the other creatures they had encountered, who had felt fear, were completely subjected to his control. He was different from the rest. Even though his power had decreased, he showed no fear whatsoever. The lion asked if he also possessed a system, and the tiger didn't know what he was talking about. Furious, he used his best technique, and thunderclouds filled the sky. No one had ever been able to dodge or withstand this technique. He activated the technique, and a powerful lightning bolt struck the Lion King. This lightning was so strong that it created a crater in the ground. To his surprise, the king's body was enveloped in a sphere of spiritual energy. The white tiger thought that the king had fused into this sphere. This sphere of power rose, and the king emerged from the sphere with a new form. That sphere of power was the demon's pearl. By obtaining the pearl, the system unlocked the demon elixir for him. Just before the white tiger's celestial lightning struck the lion, he tried to use a mountain transmitter to create a barrier and channel the electrical current into the earth. At that moment, the system asked if he wanted to use this electrical energy to fill the demon elixir. He quickly realized that his blocked attributes had been stored to cultivate the demon elixir. This was the perfect moment to fill the demon elixir. He didn't expect that his celestial attack would completely fill the energy of his elixir, allowing him to manifest it directly. The white tiger was angry and intended to exact his revenge by taking the lion's life. While the lion spoke, the tiger delivered a powerful blow that sent him crashing to the ground. After a few seconds, the lion got up. But even though he had obtained the demon elixir, his attributes remained blocked. This was because he had felt fear for a moment, so the power of the tiger had already taken effect, and now he was an obedient slave. The tiger used his lightning attack against him again, but this time the lion blocked the attack using the pearl, and the lightning no longer affected him. Using the pearl, he created spiritual roots that trapped the tiger, and then he used the fire ability to finish him off. The tiger was on the verge of losing this battle between the two kings, but just then, in the distance, he saw the Rat King. Upon waking up, the Rat King ordered the rats to destroy the spiritual roots of the lion's mountain. Due to the loss of energy, the lion began to weaken. The white tiger understood that the mountain and he were connected, so if the mountain suffered damage, he was also harmed. The lion approached the rat and asked if he was truly the Rat King. A long time ago, one day, Xiao King was chasing a mouse through the mountain. This mouse, fleeing for its life, reached the lion's cave and, taking advantage of the fact that the king was sleeping, hid in his bed. Due to the commotion, he woke up and asked Xiao King what was going on. She told him that a mouse had hidden in his bed. After searching for a while, he finally found the mouse that had hidden in his mane. Seeing that he had caught the rat, she told him that he now had the right to devour his prey. Upon knowing that his death was near, the mouse began to beg for his life. Seeing that the mouse could speak, the Lion King immediately set him free and realized that his intelligence had been awakened thanks to the spiritual energy. Xiao King asked the king if the spiritual intelligence affected the taste, and the Lion King replied that creatures mutated under the influence of spiritual energy became like them and should not be fed upon. Grateful for being saved, the mouse began to thank the king and expressed a willingness to do anything as gratitude. Back in the present, the mouse apologized to the Lion King, who soon realized he was under the oppressive power of the white tiger. Eager to repay the favor, the mouse used his powers to call upon other mice to stop the attack on the spiritual roots of the lion's mountain. However, it didn't take long before the mouse suffered damage while trying to break the restrictions imposed by the white tiger. Seeing this, the Lion King told the mouse not to exert himself anymore, as he, as a king, cherished his people, unlike the white tiger who only forced the weak to fight alongside him. The fight between them continued, with both the Lion King and the white tiger using their demonic roars. As they battled, the mouse rose and began to use his power again to halt the attack on the spiritual roots. It didn't take long before the white tiger was defeated due to the difference in power. The system awarded the Lion King 2 body fragments for completing the mission of expanding the territory of the lion's mountain. After several minutes, the mouse managed to bring all the rats out of the ground. Seeing this, the Lion King understood that the mouse had good intentions, and both headed towards the lion's mountain. At that moment, the white tiger rose and told them to stop. Seeing that the white tiger still had strength, the Lion King wasn't sure if he could continue fighting, as he had little energy left. To his surprise, the white tiger admitted defeat and, as a reward, handed over the white tiger mountain. She also revealed that she was a tigress and wanted to be the wife of the Lion King from now on. Both the Lion King and the mouse were in shock. The white tigress asked her new husband for his name. The Lion King refused to form a romance between a tigress and a lion. At that moment, a system window appeared, stating that the tigress wanted to give him the entire White Tiger Mountain. Meanwhile, Su Ling and Shuang arrived at the ancient ruins of the Red Umbrella Cave, along with the members of the Kaiyingsheng Group's detection team. After entering the ruins, Shuang began to inspect the area with her pistol in case the Red Umbrella appeared. At that moment, a level B awakened named Zhu Tao told her to holster the gun as it might accidentally fire, assuring her that he would protect them from danger. He approached them, and Su Ling didn't like his attitude. If he touched her, she was ready to give him a beating. Just before Zhu Tao's hand could touch Su Ling's shoulder, the captain of the exploration team, and a level awakened named Wang Chong, hit him on the head. He scolded Zhu Tao to leave the girls alone and be more alert, mentioning that the previous expedition group exploring these ancient ruins had been annihilated. He didn't know what the company was looking for in this dangerous place. After several minutes, they reached a dead end because a large stone ball blocked the path. The researchers began to investigate the ball, and at that moment, the ball started moving toward them at great speed. But just before the ball could impact Wang Chong, Zhu Tao appeared and, using his demonic power, stopped the ball effortlessly. He then transformed into a wild boar and hurled the ball to the ground with all his strength. Approaching the ball, he realized it was a cockroach. From the entrance that the cockroach had blocked, bats began to emerge and attack Zhu Tao. Quickly, Shuang pulled out the pistol and eliminated them using bullets infused with spiritual energy. Zhu Tao, seeing that she had saved him, fell deeply in love with her. At that moment, Wang Chong drew his attention to inform him that the cockroach was blocking the entrance to an underground village full of women. Upon seeing so many women, Zhu Tao began to fall in love. Wang Chong tried to warn him that it was a trap. Despite the warning, Zhu Tao ignored him, thinking that this was his reward and it was impossible for a strong man like him to lose to simple women. In the blink of an eye, the women reached them, and Wang Chong immediately realized something was wrong because the first building of the village was still quite far away. The women began to seduce members of the detection group, gradually stealing their spiritual energy. Zhu Tao realized this too late and tried to ask for help. Within seconds, the women had already absorbed the men's spiritual energy. One of the men tried to attack, but the women also absorbed his power. Wang Chong also prepared to fight, as he couldn't let all his men be defeated before his eyes. Using his spiritual energy, he began turning his entire body into iron. One of the women lunged at him to prevent him from using his ability, but to her surprise, Wang Chong reacted in time and pushed her away, as he wouldn't fall for those wicked and twisted methods. The specialty of these women was turning men weak. At that moment, a much more powerful woman with purple hair appeared, and she managed to seduce Wang Chong. He tried to resist, but it was too late, and his spiritual energy was also stolen. Seeing this, Su Ling thought she had to inform the Lion King as soon as possible, so to escape the ruins, she began to return to her spirit form. But at that moment, the woman with purple hair grabbed her arm even in spirit form. Immediately, Su Ling realized that this woman was also a spirit. She told Su Ling to not leave because now she was going to show her their village. Meanwhile, on the Lion King's mountain, the tigress tried to seduce the Lion King into having relations with her, thinking that a child between the king and the queen would be the perfect ruler to dominate the world. The Lion King refused, and seeing that he didn't think the same way, she asked if he was only interested in the Tiger Mountain. The Lion King told her he wasn't interested in these kinds of things, and upon hearing this, she thought he was a novice in love. She explained him how to tame a white tigress, but despite the explanations, he wasn't willing, as he didn't want to be the first person to tame a white tiger in history. At that moment, Xiao Kao appeared from the candle and told the Lion King that Su Ling's internal fire was slowly extinguishing and was now about to go out. Upon knowing this, the Lion King used the sacred fire tracker to see Su Ling's whereabouts. The white tigress was confused, as she didn't know who Su Ling and Xiao Kao were. The fire indicated that Su Ling was in the ancient ruins, so the Lion King decided to go in person to see what was happening. He used a body fragment and his body merged with the human body, and the tigress, seeing that he could use the human transformation method, understood why he was not attracted to felines. The Lion King told the tigress to stay in the cave while they went to investigate the ancient ruins. Seeing the situation, the tigress realized she couldn't let him obsess over others and thought the only option now was to ask for help. Inside the ruins, the woman with purple hair took Su Ling and Shuang and flew them to the mansion. After several seconds, they arrived in a place filled with women, and several of them began to mock Su Ling. And on the second floor of the mansion was Kai Luo with the red umbrella. Both recognized each other instantly and without hesitation prepared to fight. Su Ling drew her sword and attacked Kai Luo, but she managed to block the attack and asked how she had come to the mansion. She ignored the question, as she was willing to make her pay for the disaster she had caused in the Lion Mountain. Kai Luo defended herself, saying that she had only defended against invaders who had entered her cave before. After this, both began to fight, and the combat was so fierce that Shuang couldn't keep up. All the women in the mansion tried to stop the fight because they didn't want to alert their leader, but their efforts were in vain because the leader noticed and ordered them to stop. At that moment, the leader Bai Luo came out, and all the women began to greet her in a respectful manner. Su Ling immediately realized that she had a very powerful Kai that she had been cultivating for thousands of years and thought she should avoid fighting her. Su Ling also greeted her and apologized for entering the sacred ruins without permission, and also asked for permission to leave the ancient ruins. Seeing this, Shuang also apologized to her and told her they were just tourists who had gotten lost. Bai Luo smiled and told them they spoke very well despite being young girls, and also said they could leave, but in return, she wanted to accompany them. Bai Luo's soul was sealed in this place, and the inheritance that Su Ling mastered could help her break the seal. Kai Luo told her that Su Ling was useless, and upon hearing this, both of them started arguing. Bai Luo ordered them to follow her, and along the way, she told them that she was originally the daughter of a wealthy family. However, due to the involvement of various family members in a conspiracy, she was framed and sold. On her first night of work, the maids applied makeup and styled her hair. The entire kingi was adorned with lights, and people were smiling, but she only thought of maintaining purity in the world as she had prepared to take her own life. However, she never imagined that she would fall deeply in love with a client. Her first client was a young man from a noble and wealthy family, forced by his peers to come to her. However, he did not touch her. That night, they only recited ancient poetry together and talked. Unknowingly, Bai Luo fell in love with him. The young man also fell in love and was willing to set her free to marry her. But because he did not have enough money due to education expenses, he borrowed money from his peers and begged the owner not to sell Bai Luo. After several days, the young man gave her a Kainkan umbrella made of silk and left. But the owner did not keep her promise, and she thought that if Bai Luo had already lost her virginity, it made no sense to stop receiving clients. Several months passed, and seeing that her beloved did not come, she took her own life. Her blood fell on the umbrella and was absorbed, as the umbrella was an object passed down through generations with supernatural powers. By absorbing her blood, the umbrella was influenced by her resentment and became an evil spirit. And that umbrella became Kai Luo, and after her death, her beloved returned as the general of the Southwest Army. Upon knowing that his beloved had sacrificed herself for love, he became furious and completely exterminated the Qingyi mansion. Then, under the guidance of a protective monk, he merged the Qingyi mansion to form a huge natural coffin. The monk used a wordless book to bring back the body of Bai Luo. This coffin prevented the body from decomposing and trapped the soul of the person. Later, her beloved desperately sought a way to resurrect her but unfortunately could not find any and died. Later, when Bai Luo's spiritual energy recovered, she had a chance to gain spiritual energy and could leave her physical body, becoming an evil spirit. All the other women in the mansion were trapped souls, and she used them to absorb the energy of intruders to feed herself. Su Ling felt fear seeing that she had revealed something so astonishing with such indifference. The spirit sealed in a place were due to the resentment generated by unfulfilled desires before death. Bai Luo wanted Su Ling to help her leave this place to fulfill the wish she had before dying. Su Ling asked if she wanted to see her beloved again. Bai Luo told her no, as thousands of years had passed, and she was no longer interested in men. She wanted Su Ling to help her break the seal of the wordless book so that she could be free. In exchange for her freedom, Bai Luo promised to give her the wordless book to deliver to the Lion King, as she intended to become his wife. Su Ling was surprised to see that she knew the Lion King. Kai Luo had turned into a demon due to Bai Luo's resentment, and since she was tainted with her blood, Bai Luo knew everything she had experienced. From another point of view, she was Kai Luo, so she knew what had happened on Lion Mountain. Upon hearing this, Su Ling asked her why she was seeking help despite causing much harm to Lion Mountain. Bai Luo told her that she was only defending herself against invaders who had forcibly taken her cave, and she reminded Su Ling that Lion Mountain didn't belong solely to the Lion King but also to them, as they had been there for thousands of years. Su Ling approached the coffin and saw Bai Luo's physical body. She had to take the wordless book to set her free. She reached out her hand, and the book disappeared, but when she withdrew her hand, the book reappeared. Bai Luo told her that she had to use her legacy because the book was for sealing the evil spirit to protect the physical body. Su Ling's legacy allowed her to transform the evil spirit into a ghostly body. At that moment, blue flames appeared and the ground began to tremble. Kai Luo remembered that if someone tried to break the seal, the ancient coffin would activate its defenses. Su Ling and Shuang panicked and asked Kai Luo what these defenses were. She replied that she didn't know. No one had been near Bai Luo's physical body for thousands of years, and no one had been able to touch the seal, as all intruders had been devoured by the women of the Qingyi mansion. At that moment, the book began to control the mansion's women to attack the intruders. Shuang shot at one of them, but her bullets had no effect. Just before the woman could attack, Kai Luo used her umbrella and finished her off. She asked Bai Luo to control her maids. She said that now the book had suppressed the maids' core, so she couldn't control them, and the only way to break these defenses was to break the seal. Upon hearing this, Kai Luo became angry with Su Ling because if she hadn't damaged the interior of the universe in her umbrella, she could have used the universe inside the umbrella to trap all the maids. Bai Luo told Su Ling to try to take the book while they dealt with the maids. She approached the coffin, and the book reappeared. At that moment, Su Ling remembered that she had to transform illusions into real objects and immediately found the core of the book. She told Bai Luo that the true core of the book was inside the belly of her physical body. Upon hearing this, Bai Luo told her to take it out. Kai Luo told her not to do it because it was very risky. If her physical body were to be damaged, she would lose her reproductive capability. Bai Luo couldn't change her past. She had voluntarily taken her own life and had never asked to be reborn. Now, all she wanted was to rid herself of this suffering as soon as possible. So, she told Su Ling to do everything possible to get the book. Using her power, she first materialized the illusion and then brought it into reality. Once the book materialized, she removed it from Bai Luo's physical body. By doing this, the coffin and the physical body disappeared. Now that she had retrieved the book, Bai Luo told them that they could leave the ancient ruins. However, it was not going to be easy because by destroying the core of the book, the maids had become much more ferocious. Quickly, Su Ling returned to the ghostly state, took Shuang, and they all headed towards the exit of the ruins. After several minutes, they reached the exit, and Su Ling handed Shuang over to them. She told them to go to the Lion Mountain while she stayed to fight against the evil spirits. She couldn't let them leave the ruins to harm the innocent, but they refused. All this disaster had been caused by them. In contrast, Xuan wanted to leave because she was an ordinary person. Just before they started to fight, the Lion King appeared and used his lion's roar to eliminate all the evil spirits. Su Ling was happy as he had arrived at the right moment. Bai Luo realized that he had become 10 times stronger than when he had fought against Kai Luo. A blow from the Lion King could be fatal for her, who had been cultivating for 1,000 years. Kai Luo was angry with him as he had used an attack that could have eliminated them as well. The Lion King grabbed her by the mouth and told her that she should appreciate the fact that he had saved her. Bai Luo presented herself to him as a humble servant. Confused, the Lion King asked Su Ling who she was. She explained to the Lion King that Bai Luo was the owner of the Red Umbrella. Each ancient coffin had its own owner, and that owner had a secret power. Both the spiritual coffin of the terrifying forest and the wordless book from the legacy of the Red Umbrella were inheritances from ancient powers. The Lion King's lair was the origin of the spiritual veins and was also one of the ancient coffins. Bai Luo asked the king what inheritance he had received. He pondered, initially thinking that the system was an inheritance, but then he remembered that Xiao Kao must have received the inheritance as she was the previous owner of the Lion Guard. But looking at Xiao Kao, he realized that she had not received any inheritance. Seeing that he couldn't answer, Bai Luo stopped talking about that topic and told him that with the appearance of spiritual Kai, some ancient powers and the legacies began to awaken, and the world entered chaos as these ancient powers clashed. Su Ling told him that during her investigation in the Kaiyingsheng group, she discovered that behind every human group was controlled by ancient forces. The group selected outstanding awakened individuals to give them an inheritance called Wu Jai Dao. Those who received this inheritance were honored with titles like Martial Master and were classified by levels. She wanted to hide her identity within the group to have contact with the Wu Jai Dao inheritance, but she was unable to. The Lion King told her that despite not having contact with the inheritance, she had done a good job. Because the Kaiyingsheng group had lost many of its men in the ancient ruins, they were not going to stop easily, and they were also going to involve the Lion Mountain. The Lion Mountain and the ancient ruins were connected by the spirit of the earth, and at this point, Bai Luo's fate and the Lion King's were intertwined. Kai Luo told the Lion King that he didn't need to fear simple humans, as she could easily handle them. The Lion King said it was very complicated because even if she could resist gunfire, she couldn't withstand tanks, planes, or nuclear bombs. Kai Luo, upon hearing this, didn't understand anything. Bai Luo told the Lion King that she had a way to conceal the spirit of the earth. Thanks to her knowledge of magical barriers, she could set up a barrier around the spirit of the earth to hide its flowing energy. Seeing that the Lion King didn't trust her, Bai Luo took the wordless book and the red umbrella and handed them to the king in exchange for becoming his servant. At that moment, system windows began to appear, giving him several points. Without hesitation, the Lion King did not reject this offer. Shuang realized that Bai Luo was very cunning since the red umbrella had been a gift from her ex-boyfriend, and Su Ling had obtained the celestial wordless book to free her from the ancient ruins. Reading the celestial book, the Lion King realized that it really had no words. As he turned all the pages of the book, the system awarded him 2 points of understanding, and thanks to this, he began to see fragments of words written in the book. Afterward, they headed towards the Lion Mountain, and at that moment, the white tigress saw them all together. Upon returning to the cave, the Lion King did not find the tigress anywhere, so he thought she had left. But he began to smell a strange odor. Approaching it, he saw that it was urine, and there were claw marks all over the cave. He was furious with the white tigress. Bai Luo and the others entered the cave, but he ushered them out because he didn't want them to see the mess the tigress had caused. Then, he gathered all his subordinates and told them that from now on, Bai Luo and Kai Luo would be his subordinates. The Great Bear disagreed with this, as they were not good people and had caused a lot of harm to the Lion's Mountain in the past. The Lion King told him that the Lion's Mountain had many enemies, and Bai Luo knew a method to hide the entire mountain using a secret earth formation. She was the only person who knew this method, and to conceal the mountain, they had to find the ancient coffin and the ancient archaeological remains. In those ancient archaeological remains, the Master of Earth formations had been sealed for 1,000 years, and those archaeological remains were about 100 kilometers at the foot of the mountain. Everyone headed towards the location, and after several hours, they arrived at the Bai Lai River. Seeing that this river was very long, the Lion King thought he should have brought the talkative parrot to fly and check the length of the river. Bai Luo didn't remember this river being here before. Kai Luo told her that due to the changes 1,000 years ago and the resurgence of spiritual energy, the land underwent changes. Su Ling thought about flying over the river in ghost form, but then realized it was daytime and she couldn't. So, she told the Lion King that she was going to swim a bit to test the water's depth, and she assured him not to worry because she was a good swimmer. Without hesitation, she jumped into the water and started moving along the river. The Great Bear told the king that he was also a good swimmer and wanted to go with her, but the king refused, as he didn't want the girls to see him in swimwear. After several minutes, giant crocodiles surrounded Su Ling. Seeing the danger, she jumped out of the water, but unfortunately, the giant crocodile leaped out and ate Su Ling. Without a second thought, the Lion King jumped into the water to rescue her. However, slowly his body began to sink because his armor was made of gold, and after several seconds, he reached the giant crocodiles. Little by little, the Lion King began descending through the water, and the giant crocodiles began surrounding him. At that moment, one of the giant crocodiles opened its mouth and tried to swallow the Lion King, but he noticed the attack and, using only his fists, prevented the giant crocodile from closing its jaws. Then, he grabbed the tail of the giant crocodile and started spinning his body at great speed to use it as a whip to strike the other crocodiles. The crocodiles became furious and started advancing towards the Lion King at full speed, but instead of attacking him, they started ascending to the surface. The Lion King immediately realized that the crocodile's target was his allies who were on the shore. He wanted to ascend to help them but couldn't because his golden armor was too heavy. At that moment, he looked at the crocodile he was grabbing by the tail and realized that it looked very familiar to him. Meanwhile, as Bai Luo and the others waited on the shore, the water of the river began turning chaotic, causing a large wave to advance towards the shore. Bai Luo and Kai Luo reacted in time and managed to avoid being swallowed by the wave, but the Big Bear and Xiao King were not so lucky and were swallowed by the wave. Bai Luo and Kai Luo climbed onto a tree branch, and Bai Luo started wondering if the wave had been caused by the beautiful dragons. At that moment, the giant crocodiles appeared. At the same time, at the bottom of the river, the Lion King mounted the giant crocodile and started hitting its head to make it swim harder as they were still descending. One of the giant crocodiles opened its mouth and tried to attack the Big Bear, but the Big Bear reacted in time and managed to grab the crocodile's jaws. The Big Bear realized that the giant crocodiles had a great biting force. As Bai Luo and Kai Luo watched the Big Bear fight against the giant crocodile, Kai Luo told the Big Bear to let go of the crocodile's mouth as it had a biting force of several tens of tons. One of the crocodiles broke the tree trunk, causing Kai Luo and Bai Luo to fall to the ground. Bai Luo told the others that the only way to defeat the giant crocodiles was to close their mouths so that it would be difficult for them to reopen. The Big Bear smiled and, in a matter of seconds, closed the crocodile's mouth and then asked Xiao King to use her body as a rope. Xiao King became furious and refused to be used as a rope. Meanwhile, the Lion King reached some bones at the bottom of the river. Immediately, he realized that these bones were from fierce high-level beasts, so he quickly concluded that the giant crocodiles were not ordinary animals. The Lion King looked towards the shore and thought that all his allies were in danger. At the same time, on the shore, another giant crocodile caught the Big Bear off guard and landed a blow using its powerful tail. Due to the strength of the blow, the Big Bear was sent flying and crashed into a tree. Seeing this, Xiao King tried to help him, but at that moment, another giant crocodile approached her to attack her by surprise. But luckily, Xiao King noticed the presence of the giant crocodile and quickly closed its mouth using her snake-like body. At that moment, another giant crocodile appeared and bit Xiao King's tail strongly. Seeing that the two were in danger, Bai Luo thought about going to help them, but Kai Luo reminded her that it was still daytime, so she advised her not to do it as her body would disintegrate due to the sunlight. Just before Bai Luo could make a decision, the Lion King emerged from the bottom of the river thanks to the bony ladder he had created using the technique called wordless transmission. Previously, when the Lion King was at the bottom of the river with the bones, he realized that these bones extended as far as the eye could see, which meant that the giant crocodiles were the owners of the river. These bones were like a blessing for the Lion King since he had wanted to try a new technique for a long time. The Lion King clasped his hands together and, using wordless communication, commanded the bones to rise. In a matter of seconds, his technique took effect and the bones began to rise. Upon seeing this, the Lion King was pleased to know that the transmission from the celestial book of wordless communication was real. At that moment, the bones formed an animal which prostrated itself before the Lion King. The Lion King gently stroked its head and began to think that although he had mastered the amazing method, he could not leave the bottom of the river. The bone-made animal prostrated itself on the ground, and at that moment, more bone-made animals appeared and began to disassemble themselves to form a ladder for the Lion King to climb out of the river. The Lion King began to climb the ladder, and along the way, the bones of the animals fused with his body to create a new armor. After several minutes, the Lion King reached the shore, and upon seeing the bone ladder and the bone armor, everyone was astonished to see that the Lion King had mastered the technique of wordless communication. Bai Luo was amazed to see that the Lion King had truly been able to learn the technique from the celestial book of wordless communication. Seeing the Lion King, the remaining crocodiles knew they were in danger. The Lion King gently struck the ground, causing the bones to return to the form of animals. The bone-made animals began to attack the crocodiles, but the crocodiles tore them apart with their huge and powerful tails. Upon seeing this, Bai Luo realized that the amazing method did not work against the crocodiles because their skin was extremely resistant. One of the crocodiles attempted to bite the Lion King, but he evaded it effortlessly and delivered a strong blow to its mouth, causing it to lose its teeth. Another crocodile tried to attack the Lion King from behind, but Su Ling cut it in half with the dental blade. Another crocodile attempted to escape, but the Lion King caught it by the tail and planned to give it a good beating to make them serve as a boat. The remaining crocodiles had no choice but to serve as transportation for the Lion King and his subordinates. Everyone climbed onto the giant crocodiles and began to cross the river. Along the way, the Great Bear praised the Lion King, saying that he was great and could easily overcome any difficulty. On the other side, Kai Luo felt resentment towards the Lion King because he had learned the amazing method in just a few days, while it had taken her several years. As they crossed the river, a thick fog descended, causing them to lose their way to the Boo Mountain. Everyone panicked, but Bai Luo reassured them and told them that they had already arrived. She explained that Boo Mountain was a burial place for the ancestor of Earth formations, so it would not be easily visible. Currently, they were in the first formation of the Boo Mountain Matrix, and in front of them appeared an island called the Illusory Mist Matrix. Due to the fog being too dense, the Lion King decided to go to the shore. When they were near the shore, the Great Bear decided to go first to explore the area. Once the Great Bear stepped onto the shore, it disappeared, causing him to fall into the river. The Great Bear was somewhat confused and started to wonder how the island had turned into river water. Bai Luo realized it was an illusion, which meant that finding the ruins of Bashan Mountain was not going to be so easy. At that moment, the Great Bear's skin peeled off his leg, exposing his bone to view. Then, the Lion King's arm skin also peeled off, exposing his bone. The Lion King panicked and thought that this fog was not normal as it was eroding their skin. Su Ling noticed this sensation, so she reassured the Lion King not to worry because it was just an illusion. Su Ling touched the Lion King's arm, causing it to return to normal. She explained that this fog was the same that protected the floral spirit's coffin, though this fog was merely an illusion, but if a person died in it, their nervous system would also die. Su Ling told everyone to remain calm as they simply needed to disrupt the internal energy flow to break the illusion. Everyone began to meditate, causing the fog to disappear. At that moment, they all fell into the water and started to sink. After several minutes, the Lion King opened his eyes in a peaceful place filled with cherry blossoms. He was not alone, as Bai Luo also appeared beside him. Upon seeing Bai Luo's appearance, the Lion King couldn't help but be amazed. Bai Luo asked the Lion King if there was any problem, and the Lion King began to pretend and asked where the others were. Bai Luo wasn't quite sure if this place was part of Bashan or just an illusion, so she replied that she didn't know. The Lion King suggested they go look for the ancient ruins as he thought the others might be there. Bai Luo said it wouldn't be possible because she was a ghost, and if sunlight touched her, her body would dissipate. The Lion King reassured her as he had a quite simple solution to her problem. He used the technique called demonic pill to create a golden extension. A golden light emerged from the sky, causing a golden umbrella to appear in the Lion King's hands. He handed the umbrella to Bai Luo, and when she held it, she realized it was very heavy. At the same time, in a desert place, Su Ling was searching for the Lion King and his subordinates. She had separated from the Lion King and had been searching for several minutes, but she couldn't find any trace of anyone in this place. Kai Luo was also in this place searching for Bai Luo. She thought this was not good as this place was quite uncomfortable. After several minutes, Su Ling and Kai Luo came face to face and both thought they had found the last person they wanted to find. At the same time, Xiao King and the Great Bear appeared in a lake. Unlike the river, they could walk on water. The Great Bear told Xiao King that Bashan was a mountain, but in this place there was no mountain in sight. Bai Luo and the Lion King began to walk to find the ancient ruins. Along the way, Bai Luo picked up a cherry blossom leaf and asked the Lion King to share the umbrella with her. The Lion King accepted, although he felt a little uncomfortable being with her since they had only had a chance encounter and he had already accepted her under his command. After walking for several minutes, the Lion King told Bai Luo that this forest seemed to have no end. Bai Luo approached a tree and told the Lion King that they had returned to the starting point because she had left a mark on one of the trees so that Kai Luo would know their location. The Lion King quickly realized that they were both trapped in this illusory maze. The Lion King asked Bai Luo if they had been going around in circles. At that moment, one of the trees started moving, and upon seeing this, the Lion King took Bai Luo's hand and they started running. Along the way, the Lion King explained that this was not simply a repetition of the same place but that the trees moved slowly to distort their vision. Biological movement was based on circular movements from left to right or vice versa. Both birds and land animals had subtle differences in the force between their wings or legs. Without visual corrections to orient themselves correctly, their journey would only be in a cumulative circle. But due to these subtle differences, the approximate radius of the resulting circle was about 5 kilometers. However, they had not traveled such a long distance and were already back to the starting point, which meant that the cherry blossom forest that was confusing their location was also moving. Therefore, they had to quickly break through the cherry blossom forest blockade as soon as possible. At that moment, Bai Luo started sweating and told the Lion King that things were no longer simple. The Lion King returned to his human form and was shocked when looking at Bai Luo. Bai Luo, upon seeing the Lion King's human form, let go of his hand and began asking who he really was. The Lion King looked at his hands and realized that he had returned to his human form. He revealed his true name, Liu Fan. At the same time, Su Ling and Kai Luo began to argue. Kai Luo asked if she had seen any trace of anyone from the direction she had come from. Su Ling replied no, and upon hearing this, Kai Luo decided to leave. Su Ling took her hand and tried to stop her, telling her that there was no one in that area. Kai Luo refused as she did not believe Su Ling's words. She reminded her that they were enemies not long ago, and after saying these words, she left. Su Ling decided to continue her path and both started walking in opposite directions. Along the way, Kai Luo thought that the Lion King and the others were going to die in this place, and once that happened, she and Bai Luo could take full possession of the Lion Mountain. She began to fantasize about the things she and Bai Luo would do after taking control of the Lion Mountain. At that moment, Su Ling began to approach her. Upon seeing this, Kai Luo turned around and asked why she was following her, but at that instant, Su Ling appeared behind her, and she immediately realized that this valley was a circle. Su Ling pulled out a dagger and before Kai Luo could react, she stabbed her in the stomach. After this, Su Ling started searching for the exit, and Kai Luo began following her. Kai Luo took advantage of Su Ling's lowered guard and attempted to attack her, but Su Ling turned around and using the dagger made a deep cut on Kai Luo's face. Confused, Kai Luo asked her how she had discovered it. Recently, when she had passed by Su Ling, she had noticed that their shadows had interchanged as she couldn't resist stepping on the shadow of someone she hated. At the same time, in the cherry blossom forest, the Lion King asked Bai Luo what was happening. The arrangement of Master Tan's was really complicated because not only space, but even time could be freely controlled within his domain. Bai Luo quickly realized that the return to the forest was not a space, but rather time itself. The Lion King, a little confused by Bai Luo's words, asked her to explain. She explained that this was the appearance she had had hundreds of years ago, and upon seeing the Lion King's appearance, she realized that he had been a human long ago. At that moment, the tree roots began to move, causing the trees to come to life. One of the trees attacked the Lion King. He tried to defend himself using the roar of the golden lion, but unfortunately it didn't work and he was hit directly, falling on top of Bai Luo. Both blushed, and quickly the Lion King got up and realized that not only had his appearance returned, but his cultivation had as well. The Lion King noticed that Bai Luo had a wound on her arm and, now that she was also a normal human, advised her not to get involved. Bai Luo refused because she was now a ghost of the Lion King, so her life and death belonged to his king. One of the trees gathered its branches to create a sharp branch and tried to surprise attack the Lion King. The Lion King turned around and grabbed the branch just before it could go through him. With a simple movement, he broke the branch and the system granted him 5 points of strength. Fortunately, the Lion King had a system that was permanently linked to him and was not affected by time. At the same time, while Xiao King and the big bear were walking, the big bear got angry and hit the water. Xiao King concluded that they had become victims of an illusion because this river didn't seem to have an end. Upon hearing this, the big bear panicked and touched Xiao King's scales to check if she was also an illusion. Xiao King got angry and started to choke the big bear as only the king could touch her scales. She had previously asked the parrot for information about illusions, which were spells that could affect the enemy's perception, giving the sensation that even painful feelings were real in the illusions. The parrot's illusions acted upon the sight of living beings when affected by them, resulting in their perception being completely under the control of the parrot. But if the opponent disrupted the flow of spiritual energy within themselves, then it would have the opposite effect on the parrot, breaking its illusions. Xiao King and the big bear began to disrupt the flow of energy within their bodies, but unfortunately it didn't work. Xiao King looked at the ground and thought that they should continue descending. But the big bear didn't think the same way. So Xiao King explained to him that the reason they were standing on the water's surface was because there was something beneath the water. Both of them entered the water and started descending slowly. After several minutes, they reached the other end where they ascended until reaching a forest. This forest was full of life, and there was a statue that was pouring water into the sea. The big bear transformed into a human, and when he emerged from the water, he was impressed by the beauty of this forest. Xiao King also transformed into a human. The big bear got out of the water because he was very cold, and upon seeing his naked butt, Xiao King gave him a strong kick in the balls. As the big bear writhed in pain, he asked Xiao King why she was making a fuss if they had always been naked. The big bear decided to cover his private parts with some leaves, and Xiao King used the dragon transformation called Living Scales and also covered her private parts. Upon seeing this, the big bear also used the animal transformation called Long Fur, causing hair to grow in his armpits and private areas. Seeing this, Xiao King couldn't help but feel disgusted, so she asked him to stop. Both began to look at the statue of the woman that was pouring water and thought that the statue must be the solution to this problem. Xiao King activated the breath of the dragon to break the statue, but at that moment a voice asked her not to do it. Then a short-haired girl came down from the statue. Upon smelling her scent, Xiao King realized that she was the white tigress. Xiao King attacked the white tigress as she thought all this was her doing. She blocked the attack and told her that she hadn't done anything since she was only practicing the art of transformation when she had been about to interrupt the transformation by trying to damage the goddess statue. The big bear was confused, so he asked Xiao King who she was. Xiao King explained that this woman was the white tigress who was responsible for the previous attack on the Lion Mountain. The big bear became even more confused as he thought the white tigress was the woman the Lion King had kidnapped to make her his wife. Upon hearing this, Xiao King hit the big bear in the face. The white tigress pointed at Xiao King and asked her to stop trying to steal her husband. Upon hearing this, Xiao King became angry and told her that the Lion King didn't like an old woman like her. The white tigress started crying as she knew that the Lion King only liked human women. Then she started to laugh as she was now blessed by the goddess Yunsui and had become what the Lion King loved most. Xiao King looked at the statue of the goddess Yunsui and without thinking twice, flew off to destroy the statue. Seeing this, the white tigress quickly grabbed her by the hair and they both started fighting as they fell to the ground. The big bear tried to stop them, but they paid no attention to him. Xiao King activated her dragon's breath, and the white tigress activated the 5 righteous thunders. They attacked each other, causing a big explosion in the sky. Xiao King couldn't withstand the damage from the explosion and fell to the ground, while the white tigress remained standing as if nothing had happened. At that moment, the statue of the goddess Yunsui shattered, and after several seconds the Lion King appeared alongside Bai Luo. Everyone was happy to see the Lion King, but Xiao King began to wonder who the Lion King really was. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, don't forget to subscribe and like the video.